Yo, what's up, guys? Oathkeeper here, and welcome back to another edition of our podcast, which we are renaming Overdrive. And the reason for the rename is because there is another podcast out there with the same name, Hypervoice, and we just rather avoid any, complications in general. So, Overdrive is the new name of this podcast. Same thing, new name. So, we got the usual crew here with us. We got GW.
Hello, I'm GW.
And we got a newly recently promoted voice, goes by the name Corthius.
Hello, thank you for letting me be here.
Anytime. And then the rest of the usual crew, we got Spatial Rendezvous.
Are you has Red Ice? I am sad.
And Mary Annabelle.
Hello.
And Awin.
What's poppin'?
Yo.
And last but surely not least, Zerovis.
Hey, everybody.
Alright, so this podcast is definitely going to be touching mostly on the, I guess we could call it like a big tier shift that we got just about a week ago. Since the DLC 2, or Crown Tundra, came out, and we got a lot of, fun toys to play with. But I think before we dive... Well, actually, no, let's just dive right into it. So, if I had to pick, like, one or two notables... It would have to be stuff like Toro. Toros got, unbanned from, all of NUBL got unbanned. But if I had to choose, mons that came from the Crown Tundra, like, some names that stand out would have to be, like, Magmortar or, there's just way too many. I can't even think of, this, like, any other one mon in particular. Crobat could be one, but, GW, like, what are some, like, notables, or what do you think the Crown Tundra mons will have, as far as impact goes?
I think I only have one word for you. Porygon 2 and Never Dying. This thing just sits here. Absurd amount of special defense. Teleports out of the bad matchups, run Toxic or Thunder Wave. Then we have the Vaporeon, very common now. The Wish support, Heal support. And then you pair it with a Crobat, like pair it with a Steel type or whatever. It's just really difficult to beat as well. And we also got the new Dragon types, such as Guzzlord and Exeggutor Alola, as well as some nice hyper offense options, such as a Roller Veil plus Spell Smash, Turtonator being used as Snake as well. So.
Yeah. Corthius, go ahead and let's get your thoughts in there.
Yeah, adding to, like, all these bulky pivots like Porygon and Vaporeon, with the newly accessed Flip Turn, I think we got so many potent breakers like Aggron or Scentiscorch, and the mentioned dragons, like the slow but powerful dragons, and Alolan Eggy or Guzzlord. Yeah, it seems a bit unstable at the moment.
I think that's a really good word to describe the metagame at this point in time. I guess I don't need to add too much on to the thing about the former NUBL ones. I think they're all, most of them are noticeably better than the rest of the tier. As far as, I guess I'll shout out a few of the mon poised to rise up to NU. For example, I'm under the impression that Absol and Guzzlord, as well as Mesprit, have been getting some usage, so they're probably going to be rising up soon. Things like Magmortar, which was mentioned before, Jinx as well. I think that we just now got this new meta, and it's already going to be shaken up in the middle of the month.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, one of the biggest shifts to date And I think the difference between this one and the last one too is like the bulk of this shift was really useful or really good mons. Like you guys said, Senna Scourge, Crobat, like all A or higher mons. Up and down from RU, all of the NU ban list was released. So like just the tier was pretty much completely reinvented this last shift. And also, like, there's a bunch of mons we didn't even touch on yet that I think will probably stick around because they are at least decent. Colossal, Cradilly. We got Gastrodon from RU2. We got some unexpected things like Lycanroc. So I feel like unstable is probably the best way to describe it. And I think really right now, the hinging on the usability of certain mons like P2 as just like a general defensive mon and Crobat as like a really fast anti-stall pivot and so on. So it's definitely a big thing with this upcoming mid-month shift.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to bust out my thesaurus here as well and use some big boy words. I think the word to describe this meta at the moment is volatile. We got so many new things. It reminds me of Alpha, which I wasn't even around for, but I heard was just such a fun time. We got so many great breakers, fat defensive mons like P2, Vaporeon. I think we got Tangela back from RU. It's just a bunch of new toys, and this is probably, in my opinion, the most fun the meta has been in a long time.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree. I think the meta is pretty fun right now, but I wouldn't put fun, this meta, and balanced in quite the same sentence, because if you take a look at everything in the tier right now, there's just so many powerful offensive threats, and we did get some cool new defensive options with the aforementioned P2 and Crobat, but it feels like every team now is just boiling down to just slapping on a couple breakers, putting on P2 or a Fairy Volley and a Crobat so you don't die to a Alolan Executor. And yeah, in other words, this is a fun meta, but it's not a healthy one by any means, because every game lives or dies based around just pivoting around breakers and getting your other breakers in for the most part. So I'm sincerely hoping that once the ban votes commence, when the next shift rolls around, we'll be seeing some more problematic staples like Executor or Lola getting the boot.
Yeah, there was I think there were 5 initial quick bans. I think it was 5, and it was it was like maybe like I forget how far in after November 1st, but and they were definitely worthy bans. Tyrantrum was banned, Zygarde 10%, or Zydog, if you will. Kingdra was banned, and also Drizzle and Drought were, they were quickly unbanned and then banned, like right quick, and with good reason, in my opinion. But we'll touch on those issues here in a bit. But yeah, it's the next voting slate. I'm not sure when it's going to be. I'm guessing sometime before, like the next shift, which will be in exactly a week from today. We got a shift on the 15th, and then we got a shift on December 1st. This is to expedite the process, so it won't take as long, for all the newer mons or just mons in general to take forever to drop. So it'll help us get back to a new normal, or the normal. Let's see. So another big thing going on around NU right now is the NU Snake Tour. I myself am one of the 8 managers, and I believe everyone in this call, except for unfortunately Corthius, is on one of the 8 teams. So I think we all deserve a clap for that. Clap. Yep. Yes. Yeah. Cue the clap sound effect there. So. Yeah, like I said, I manage the Coumaring Cramorants, and our first week didn't exactly end the greatest, but I mean, given who we played, I say we did, fairly well. We went 3-5 this week. GW, go ahead and touch on the team you're on and how how you guys did.
I'm on the new Bark Knock Towels. We have some GOAT players such as NU seasonal finalist Abejas and NU Open winner Davon, as well as some other great players as well. We won week 1 against the Oath Keepers. Yeah, it was pretty good. Nice. I played against Ho in week 1. It was a really close game that came down to a speed tie due to a lot of doubles and mind games and stuff. That made it a really close match. All played by him, and I think we both played very well. It was a nice game. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and Mario, I believe you're up next.
Oh, me?
Because Corthius isn't on a team. I mean, Corthius, we could get your thoughts on. I guess we could get your like a power rankings from
the only
yourself.
thing I have to say is that I'm really enjoying this snake at this time of the meta, because I think it's very great to develop and sort of for NU. Yeah. But Mary can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Mario.
Okay. Let's see. I'm on the ducklet team with Eternally and Awen. Let's see. This is the first time I've been drafted for Snake, so I'm pretty hyped up. I didn't. Our team ended up winning, although I ended up losing my own round. Fell behind early and didn't really have a way to make it up. But I'm still feeling pretty good about going forward.
There you go. And Zero, I know you're not on a team, but go ahead and give us your I guess your personal power rankings or something like that, or something Snake related.
Oh, well, yeah, I feel like that would be tough to do given the amount of good players that made it in, but
Yeah.
I think that to add on to Corthius' point, like it's an interesting time to have Snake start off with like the first few weeks of matches kind of going on during this period of, like Awen said, volatility. So it'll be pretty cool to see. Like, I've seen some interesting matches already. I enjoyed the one that was it was GW and Hoenn, and it ended up coming down to a speed tie, which, it does happen sometimes, but a very close match. So it's nice to see the games are like nice and offensive and interesting, to say the least. So yeah, it's gonna be a sweet Snake.
Yeah, it is. And Awen, I guess you can build off of what Mario was saying.
Yeah, so Mari and I are on the Duford Ducklets.
There you go.
Pretty pog team. This week, I believe we won the week 5-1, but 2 other matches were played, so it ended up being 5-3. But I am the resident bench warmer of the team. I am currently not starting, but I don't really care. So I'm really liking our team. We got some big threats like Elodin, Ajna, Fellyburn, Wash Manager Eternally. I'm really liking the look of our roster here going on. I believe we play Asha's team next week. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Awesome. And then Spatial, go ahead.
Yeah, our team, the Nimbasa Ninjas, like Awen said, we were on the receiving end of that loss. We lost 3-5. In terms of our series, I think it would be unfair to say that most of it came down to hacks, because there were a lot of good games in there. There were some instances of some cheeky stuff happening, but overall, I think it was just a matter of the meta being kind of weird, and it was just a weird time. In terms of my team, I've been really liking all of my teammates. I think we've got some great camaraderie going on, especially in terms of just bouncing ideas around. And I think that since we are pretty close to tying this week, I'm confident that we can do better in the coming weeks, especially with Finchinator at the helm.
And Spatial, fun fact, our teams are facing each other this coming week, so.
Going down like Funky Town.
All right, so yeah, Snake. It's a 7-week season, and that's not including playoffs. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a fun one, and I can't wait to keep things rolling. So yeah,
Shout outs to Awen for proving that you don't need to play a single circuit match in order to get drafted.
That is true. I was actually, fun fact, I was the third to last pick, I'm pretty sure, in the entire draft.
Didn't Yoshi get picked for NUPO just by being Yoshi?
I think so. But yeah, this is I personally am not a huge fan of Smoke-On Tours. Like, I can't put out that much time into them, and plus I don't commit that much time to Pokemon anyway. So it's like, I just signed up for tours for the fun of it. I don't expect to get drafted, but I did. So
what if I was on the team?
Then I'd probably request a trade.
Yeah, folks, what you just witnessed there was what we call a burn.
Burn heal that one.
That's I'm just gonna dial 911 right now and say that GW just got burned. All right. Moving on. Anyway, all right. So now we're just gonna go into some, debatable like dilemmas, issues, stuff that's going on in NU right now. Going back to stuff like the quick bans that I mentioned earlier. So I'm gonna ask you guys right now: is there any of the 5 things that got quick banned a few days ago that you feel shouldn't have been banned at all? I mean, if it came down to me, no, everything that's banned needed to stay banned, but that's just me. GW, go ahead.
I think everything probably should have been banned, especially like when it's like one day before week 1 of NU snake draft. Like, imagine if every snake draft match was just like, manual rain plus Kingdra, 9 tail sun, 9 tail sun, 9 tail sun, manual rain with Kingdra, manual rain with Kingdra, manual rain with Kingdra. Like, I don't think anyone wants that. It would just be really just not fun at all. I think I'm pretty fine with the bans that they had.
Yeah.
Right, Corthius.
Yes, I'm agreeing too with GW. Like, all the bans they made were reasonable, and it would be boring to watch every snake game being rain with Kingdra being manual, or if they didn't have banned drizzle, like then with Politoad or something. Yeah, I'm fine with the bans they made so far.
As a matter of fact, before the bans happened, I had actually made my own post being like, here's what I think should be banned. And it turns out that my guesses were pretty spot on. All the things that I had said were going to get banned ended up getting quick banned right there. The only addition was Kingdra by itself also happened to get banned at the same time. I don't think that any of those bans were unfair. I think that they were all just the obvious.
Yeah, I think Mari's right. They're pretty much the ones that, like, at the first glance, did need to go. And I think what is left over is definitely debatable stuff, like, Eggy A and stuff like that. Like, there's still debate to be had about their brokenness, but I think the things that went right after Tyrantrum and Zygarde 10% and stuff, like, all of them definitely did not belong in this tier, so yeah, overall I think it was good that they jumped on that quickly and then kind of, honed in on how volatile the meta was going to be going into the second shift anyway, because that'll make it easier after that as well.
Okay, so I think all the bans were justified heavily. Rain was broken. Sun, I'm not sure entirely, but I'm pretty sure it would have been broken had Rain been banned and Sun was the only thing that. And then Tyrantrum is like an Aggron on steroids, in my opinion. Rockhead head smashes, but coming off of a bigger attack stat, having an actual speed stat, it can outrun some defensive mons. And Zygarde 10% was just so annoying to deal with, and I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah. I'm pretty much in concurrence with everybody else here. I don't think any of the bans were really objectionable in any sense. The Zydog it was the choice bands that just clicked buttons and absolutely rocked everything, and it was too fast for majority of both offensive and defensive teams to keep up with. Tyrantrum could basically pick whatever set it wanted, Dragon Dance, Choice Band, Choice Scarf, and just click a Rockhead Head Smash and obliterate everything. And then in Kingdra, Kingdra was absolutely absurd to deal with. And then even outside of Rain, its Scope Lens set could just click buttons versus almost everything, and even conventional resist would probably just be critted through. And as for the two weathers, they've been automatic rain, automatic sun, were just as busted as ever. Not really a whole lot I can say there. So, in summary, I do think there is more work that needs to be done in terms of banning some of the more broken stuff we have now. I am pleased that those 5 elements were removed from the tier right away.
Yeah, there were definitely... Yeah, there's... I mean, I 100% agree, with everything that is... that was banned. Like I said, deserves to be banned. It was either overpowering or just flat out, unbeatable, uncheckable, anything, related to that. So... As far as any other, potential, Spatial, I know you brought up something, another issue facing NU right now, and I'm going to have to ask you again, what it was. Because I know it was something you were talking about before the cast.
So, my issue with NU right now is... I do think the tier is on its way to being in a better state. I think the ratio of breakers to actual defensive mons that can take on those breakers is it's bonkers. We've seen a lot of Veil usage in Snake this week for a good reason. There's just so many broken, well, I guess broken's not the right word in this scenario, but a lot of really strong setup sweepers, and a lot of teams, they're finding themselves hard-pressed to deal with everything at once. If I had to give an example, take Executor A. You really need either Porygon 2 or 2 mons that resist each of Executor's stabs in order to actually not just get blown away by it. So it's just a ratio of proper defensive mons that can take on everything, and third breakers it's out of balance, and that's why I'm really hoping that once the votes happen on when the new slate happens, we'll be seeing things like Executor A leaving the building, so there's more room for adequately building proper defensive counterplay. Sorry for the rambling there, but I hope I got my point across.
No, yeah, you did. I mean, it's... Yeah, Eggy A, or as we would call him, Neckboy, he's definitely... I mean, there's, one type that resists both of its stabs, and that's Steel, but it's got Flamethrower for that, so that's what makes it problematic. So it's if you bring in that one wrong, mon, then oops, it's gonna get hurt big time, and therefore, you're just not gonna want to bring Eggy in, you're not going to want to let it in safely anymore, or else it's, pick your sack every single time that it comes in. So, anybody else know of any, possible dilemmas, that's facing NU right now? Definitely bring it into the light.
Well, continuing off of what Spatial was just saying, and what was getting at earlier in the podcast, is that a lot of these really strong special breakers are things that we saw already in NUBL before the DLC 2 happened. things like Turtonator, Agilola, Grandpa, Haunter. These were all NUBL mons, along with P2. And it's sort of like we've got this situation where you really want to wall all of those things with one mod. And P2 offers that. Oregon 2 offers that. And you also have like Tauros, which a lot of people have been calling for a ban for, and I feel like things might be improved overall if a lot of these NUBL mons went back to NUBL and we just like tried them one at a time or something. That's probably not going to happen, but I think that be a decent way to deal with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was pretty much going to touch on what you just said, Mari. Like, I feel like the NUBL release, along with giving us P2 is like the only defensive tool that kind of holds the tier in place against a lot of those threats right now. And I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen with it. I feel like if on the 15th we weren't having another shift, then maybe within the week they might close the gates again on NUBL, P2, and all those ones included. Or maybe not all, but like definitely Turt and Eggie and so on. But I think because there's another shift coming and like, you know, so much can change in a short period of time, I don't think that anything else is going to happen until then. So it's basically, it's going to be how it was for us in Scyther meta, where everyone will be spamming roughly the same, sort of the same teams, because that's pretty much how you got to get by. You know, you're very rarely now going to see a team without Porygon 2 on it, right? And, you know, certain other linchpin mons like Crobat, Vaporeon will be very, very common until they're taken away by RU or until the shift changes things up. So it's just what we got to deal with for now.
Yeah, if anything, this shift that happens in a week, it may or may not be as big as the one that just happened. I mean, who's to say? But a lot of crap can happen. Let's put it that way. So, anybody else got any possible takeaways, giveaways that they regarding NU that they wanted to put out there?
Did we already cover Auroraville?
No, we did not. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to put it very shortly here. Veil is busted. Now, it's not the mechanic itself of Auroraville that really gets it, because we only have one Auroraville center now that RU has taken Vanillix and Abomasnow, which shocked me, frankly. We have Aurorus, and it's like Aurorus has dope coverage as a setter of Auroraville, and I think it's just the mons that can go with Auroraville just makes it such an impressive playstyle, because you got Shell Smash Turtonator, you got just setup sweepers on setup sweepers, and it's just, I think it's a really broken move at the moment with the right team support. I would like to hear your guys' opinions on that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's going back to what I said earlier. There's a good reason people were spamming Veil so much in Snake this week. There's just so many absurd threats you have to prep for. Like Turtonator was a big pick on Veil, just because once you got that offensive momentum going, trying to stop a boosted Turtonator was incredibly difficult, to say the least. Not to mention having to prep for that and all the other absurd threats like Absol, Nasty Plot Mesprit, Executor Alola. It doesn't even have to be setup sweepers too. It could just be powerful mons in general. Like we even saw Weakness Policy Sceptile under Veil this week, thanks to a burden, and that almost obliterated us. So it's like you said, it's not the problem of Delph as a mechanic, the crazy abusers we have, and I think think banning Veil, I guess it might be a bit extreme to say now, but I think that would honestly be the best course of action to actually make building a little easier in this tier and make hyper offense less oppressive.
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of like reworded what you said afterwards, because I don't really think Veil itself is broken whatsoever, but I think when Veil seems broken, it's a good indicator that the tier power level itself is what's problematic. Because if you think about before, like if you think about the meta before this, when we did have 2 Veil setters available to us, no one was saying Veil was broken at all, right? And that's because the things that could set up behind it were not like oppressive. But when you have things like Turret, which is scary enough without the benefit of not taking big damage from hits behind a Veil, it becomes very dangerous and hard to deal with snowballing sweepers like that. Like it's funny because we've seen it talked about in chat, but like people are not scared to go for 2 shell smashes now behind a Veil, right? And that's something that would be unheard of before that. So, I mean, like, I think really when Veil seems broken itself, it points to that changes in the tier have to be made. Because when it boils down to it, it's just screens, right? Like, screens would never get banned. So, yeah, it's handy to have 2 of them up in one move, but I don't think that it'll ever get to a point where that game mechanic is regarded as, like, broken. And really, it's just the mons that are available around it is what becomes problematic. But that's just my stance, anyway.
Yeah, it's at least in my opinion, Veil, like once Veil gets set up, I mean, if you lack a defogger to get rid of them or to get rid of it, I mean, it's just you're just gonna have a hard time, dealing with any and all setup sweepers that are gonna be abusing it. So, I mean, if it came down to it, I would say, at the very least, ban it in NU, 100%. Maybe even go as high as RU. I don't know, but I mean, at the very least, ban it here in NU, because you guys pretty much touched on it. It's annoying to deal with, and once sweepers get going, they're impossible to stop without taking like serious to heavy damage. And yeah, I mean, Lord knows, during some testing, with my Snake team, I had to face Veil a couple of times, and yeah, it was just a pain in the butt. So, but anything else?
I'm going to butt in again. Yeah. I think it's worth saying. I definitely understand what Zerovis is saying. We should always be examining the mons first rather than actually looking at banning Aurora Veil. I think the real question here is what's more broken here? The actual abusers of Aurora Veil or Aurora Veil itself? Because I think the question here is there are some mons, there are some setup sweepers that might be healthy for the tier and manageable without Aurora Veil, but with Aurora Veil they might be a bit too much. So I think it's something worth considering. What's more broken here, Aurora Veil or what's abusing Aurora Veil?
Okay, yeah, that's
There's also another thing to consider is that it might be like the hail itself is also another like point where it's like, oh, you might just ban the Veil, or oh, you might ban the setter, or oh, you might ban the. There's plenty of different ways to approach this, and different people can have different ideas on.
Yeah, that's true. So, I guess, in short, yeah, especially or whoever said it. You have a point. It's a matter of the abuser, or was it the abuser or the setter? Was that the question?
It was the Veil or the abuser. Right. I think Auroras is fine.
Okay, yeah, Auroras itself is fine. Yes, it's just. I can't really exactly put into words what I'm trying to say. Like, I think Veil is problematic. Let's put it that way. Because it's light screen and reflect in one. I mean, that's just one less turn, and it just becomes a serious issue if left undealt with. So I mean, if it were up to me, ban Veil, because Veil has been banned before. I think it went as high, like I think last gen, Veil was banned all the way through RU or something like that. I forget which, but I don't know. I mean, if it were me, I would say ban Veil as it is. So, any other issues? We could probably squeeze about one or two more issues in there.
I got one that's not an issue, but shout out to the new box system in PS. They just added it, I think today or yesterday, but basically you can basically dump sets of mods into boxes now. So, for example, you could name a box, NU special attackers, and then have all of your sets that you'd want set up in there, and then when you're team building, you can kind of pick and choose from it, which is really cool.
I was wondering, honestly, I was wondering what that was about. I'm like, what's this box thing?
Yeah, it'll come in handy, because before you're like, oh, I want to use, that turret set, you got to go back to a team that you used it on before, copy, and then put it up from there, but now you can kind of speed build, which is neat.
It's kind of like Pokepaste, but native to Showdown.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, if those were the only, concerns or issues or dilemmas going on.
I would like to bring up one mon real quick. I would like us to discuss the potential viability of Torragat.
Kata, did you somehow make it into this podcast?
Yes, it is I, Kata.
Yeah, we're not going to even bother to talk about Torracat. That's more of, a certain someone's, favorite mon
I'm a
right
Torracat.
now. We're not going to touch on Torracat. I'll just, I'll put that in there right now. So yeah, that was the first official Overdrive, that being our new name, Overdrive podcast. That's going to be the name, from here on out. So, hope you guys liked it. If you did, hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. There'll be more podcasts like this. And until then, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one.